Hey, finally in 1980s news, as reported by Courthouse News, notorious arcade gamer Billy Mitchell settles suit over Donkey Kong world record. Hey, on November 7th, 1982, Billy Mitchell set the first widely recognized Donkey Kong world record of 874,300 points. I'm trying to think if I've ever broken 1,000 on Donkey Kong.
If you finished one board, you broke 1,000.
Oh, is that right? Okay. I have
Yeah.
made it to the second board every now and then. I do.
All right. You probably pulled in, 5 to 10 grand.
Okay. All right. But still, that's far fewer than Billy Mitchell got in 1982. Anyway, this record stood until August 17th in 2000, when it was surpassed by Tim, I'm going to say Serby, with a score of 879,200 points. And there it sat. I'm sure someone beat it probably after that. But it wasn't until 22 years later. This is kind of like the Tetris thing we talked about last week, because it wasn't until 22 years later in 2004 that Steve Wiebe became the first known human to score over 1 million points on the classic arcade game. It turns out that several raccoons had actually reached that score months earlier. But they don't count those scores. We videotape of him achieving this, record. Unfortunately, Wiebe's score was rejected by the self-appointed record keeper of video game high scores, Twin Galaxies, over a discrepancy behind the specific machine Wiebe used to achieve the feat. And this is well documented in the King of Kong documentary.
Okay.
Fascinating documentary. But later, shortly after this, eager to prove himself in a manner that could not be contested, Wiebe appeared live and created a verified world record when he scored 985,600 points during a performance before an audience, much like our show today. But on that same day, Mitchell, remember him, the guy who achieved the first world record of Donkey Kong? He submitted a videotaped score of 1,007,200.
On the same day?
They weren't taking videotapes, but suddenly they're taking videotapes now. Billy Mitchell. Initially, this tape courts controversy. It seems like maybe it was edited. It seems like maybe it was using an emulator. All these kinds of questions are raised. But ultimately, it's verified by Twin Galaxies again. It was not only this organization that maintains to this day a database of these world records, but it's an organization upon which the Guinness Book of World Records relies for video game records. They just, you guys do all the legwork, verifying and all that. We'll just, whatever you get, we trust you. Anyway, in the years since, Wiebe, Mitchell, and some other folks have traded high scores over time. Some were performed live, some were performed on videotape and submitted, and provided they passed muster, they're verified. Anyway, in 2018, several figures in the retro gaming community raised concern that Mitchell may have set his Donkey Kong records on a modified arcade cabinet, including ones he did live. And after a months-long investigation, Twin Galaxies, which is now under new management, found that Mitchell's two high scores of just over 1 million points were tainted. Even while Mitchell claimed to have 25 witnesses watch him, who are friends, it turns out, all of them were friends, no strangers, set the various high scores, fellow video gamer David Rice, who's a competitor of Mitchell's, posted photos on Facebook of Mitchell at the convention during which he set this record. And he noted something really unusual for what should have been a vintage Donkey Kong cabinet. Instead of having the little short joystick with a black grip on it, it had a longer joystick with a red grip on it. And so as a result, Mitchell was stripped of his records, banned from Twin Galaxies leaderboards, prompting Mitchell to sue the new owners of Twin Galaxies for defamation, saying that this was just the new owners, Jace Hall, had it in for Mitchell because he didn't like his hairstyle and his dopey tie.
Understandable.
Yeah, he looks like the villain in an 80s movie. We rewatched, the three of us rewatched Roadhouse not too long ago, and he could have been a member of, what is his name? Brad
Wesley.
Brad Wesley's crew.
Yeah. Oh, totally.
Could have been like Brad Wesley's accountant. And he looks like that to this day. Anyway.
Oh no.
Anyway, this was just one of several lawsuits that Mitchell filed against several people that were saying he's a fraud, including YouTuber Karl Jobst, who that's how I'm going to say it. I've watched his videos. I mean, he brings the receipts. This guy, and there's all kinds of allegations against him, where he made his own Namco certification and trophy, and said that the company gave him a Gamer of the Century Award, and it turns out he made it himself. It's all this kind of crazy stuff.
Oh my gosh.
Anyway, so he sues Twin Galaxy for taking away his records and defaming him. They countersue him, saying that he was actually conspiring with the prior Twin Galaxies owner, Walter Day, who's also featured in that documentary, for this fraud, just to bring notoriety to themselves, because they were friends, and to the organization Twin Galaxies. Well, they dragged on for years. But we finally have a conclusion to this case. And I got to tell you, I am really bummed at the conclusion of it, because just last month, just 3 months before they were going to go to trial, a settlement was announced in LA County Superior Court. I want to see this guy lose.
That's what I was going to say. Why are you disappointed?
I was trying to divine your personal opinion. I think I picked up on it now.
Yes. You think? Yes.
Now, admittedly, my much like Mitchell's cabinet, my perception of him is tainted by the King of Kong documentary, which I watched when it came out several years ago. They cleverly make him out to be a bad guy, a villain versus this sort of all-American, baseball apple pie eating Steve Wiebe, and it's great. It is great how dramatic it plays out over time. But since and there were criticisms of the documentary at the time saying, you're really making this guy look like a bad guy, and he's not really a bad guy. He's just trying to make his bones as a professional video game player or whatever, and used car salesman, maybe, John, or mortgage broker. He's something else. Mortgage broker. I don't know. Yeah,
he also makes his own hot sauce. Yeah, he lives down here in Florida.
Oh,
which is a surprise of no one. Oh yeah.
Okay. But in the years since, he's only seemed to have proven that he is. A bad guy.
Yeah.
I mean,
So, okay. We can't do this whole story without, look, I've met Billy Mitchell. I've spoken with Billy Mitchell. Gen X Grown Up has interviewed Billy Mitchell. He is a very different guy inside of like the 6 foot bubble of, your personal space. At a distance, he's just what you see in a King of Kong. But up close, he lets that guard down a bit, and you get to...
He gives great hugs.
First is Tracy Chapman. Now it's Billy Mitchell.
All right.
Oh man.
I think he is a bullshit artist, without a doubt.
Okay.
I think he believes his own press, without a doubt. However, this entire controversy, and I watch all the things on as much as I can. There's not all probably, but it's this battle over the spirit of the law versus the letter of the law. I think, yes, what he did was technically not to the letter of the law, a absolute unmodified cabinet, which are becoming harder and harder to come across that are still working. So imagine if you're a race car driver and they said, oh, well, your steering wheel was the wrong color, therefore you lost the race.
Okay.
And it's like, I'm not saying it's equivalent to that. I'm saying there are differences. Emulation is notoriously accurate. So if I set a record on emulation, I understand that it would not be accepted. In fact, now there's a subcategory for emulation versus original hardware. So they do acknowledge that now. However, the same skills are required to do that thing. It's not like you had, you wrote a new ROM or something, or you modified the game. But I understand you need a level playing field. However, whenever I hear them talk about it, it's nitpicking, like the height of the joystick, the ball top is black instead of red, which does absolutely say it was modified from the original. Yes. Does that actually affect your ability to perform on it in a way that would make you get a higher score? That's the question. This is where I say it's kind of the letter of the law versus the spirit of the law. So
yeah, good point.
I think he's been very vilified, and it's because of his personality that he never is able to clear his own name because he just spouts some more crazy stuff. But he's definitely not as bad a guy as he's made out to be, in my opinion, because I met him personally.
Wow. All right.
We know what this means, right?
You're not buying it?
What does this mean?
It means John is under the influence of Billy Mitchell. We met him in person somehow. He charmed him. I don't know how he charmed him.
He's one of the 25 witnesses of.
Yeah,
the
I saw him do
pledge.
it.
No, I mean, look, wait a second. Okay, whatever. Let's just move on, I guess.
Oh,
What was that? Will has no retort. Let's move on.
No, what I do have retorts, but all right, look, a couple things. One, first of all, the NASCAR analogy. NASCAR does have rules, and it's not related to color. It's related to something that may change your performance. And the idea that they have everything equal is to say that, look, if everybody has exactly this, then we know we don't have to even consider whether or not these things make you better or worse at anything. And instead of doing that, he still played twice, not only once, but twice on cabinets that were modified. Now, we don't know to what extent they were modified except for the joystick. That's one thing. But the second thing is the joystick. I don't know science, but I know that you get different leverage with a longer thing than you get with a shorter thing. So already that suggests to me that there's probably a physical difference between using that little stubby thing versus using a different controller. But whatever. John, you can have them. Is he still live down in Florida?
It's what's it? Yeah.
Is he still down in Florida?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm not defending him or saying he's innocent. I'm saying he's been vilified as someone that is, thumbing his nose at authority where actually he may have bent a rule. He is not a cheater as he has been laid out to be, in my opinion, from what I've seen. So I might be wrong, but from everything I have seen, it's been really blown out of proportion.
Was he deceitful though? Did he lie about some of this stuff?
Yeah, maybe. Okay. I think he thinks he was justified in the lie. I think he believes, I know that what I did was not cheating, therefore, but if I say anything other than, yes, I cheated, then they'll call me a cheater. So he knows I didn't take performance enhancing drugs. It's just my sneakers were clean that day. That's why I won the race kind of thing. But if I say I cleaned my sneakers, they'll say I was a cheater. So I think he has absolutely stretched the truth in a way to ensure that he is not further vilified. I don't think he is the egregious cheater that he's made out to be.
Okay. All right. Yeah. I'm glad you shared that.
No one appeared more pleased with the end of the case, however, than the judge, who told the parties during the short hearing, quote, "Oh, my word, can you tell how happy I am?" End quote. That's exactly how I feel about this segment. Miss So says it definitely an 80s villain, but also asks, who hurt you, Will?
Oh.
Look, Miss So, some behind the scenes stuff happened between me, John, and Kat earlier that's just bleeding over into the show. I could tell. I'm already on edge. I won't say what it is, though, out of respect of John and Kat. Nick says the size of the joystick doesn't. It's the motion of the controller. The size doesn't matter, Nick. Yes, right.
Don't want to longer.
Oh, there you go.